Firelink navigators. Did you miss me? Today, we descend deeper than usual. We are in the belly of the world, in a place not even the flame can illuminate, the abyss itself. And it is from here, from this void that consumes souls and memories, that we will unearth the truth about the man who supposedly mastered it. Artorias, the Abyss Walker. Prepare yourselves, because the story we know is a glorious tapestry, woven with threads of lies. In Lordran, history is a commodity as valuable as souls, and Artorias' story is its most precious merchandise. Everything we know comes from fragments, inscriptions on equipment, echoes of legends that persist all the way into the rotting age of Lothric in Dark Souls 3. The official narrative, carved into every item description, is unequivocal. Sword of Knight Artorias, who faced the abyss. Even his soul was split, and his sword broken. Reforged with the power of souls, this sword now demands great strength to wield. Notice the language, who faced the abyss, not who was defeated, not who fled. It is the language of heroic confrontation. In Dark Souls 3, millennia later, the legend only grew. Great Sword of Artorias, the Wolf Knight, who once faced the abyss. This blade, broken during his legend, was carefully restored to its former splendor. The myth is clear. Artorias was the hammer of the gods against the darkness. He marched to Ulasail, where foolish humans had awakened the father of the abyss, Manus, and he contained the threat. This is the truth for any inhabitant of Lordran who did not see it with their own eyes. A triumph. A victory at a tragic cost, but a victory. To find the truth, we must travel through time, to Ulasail, at the height of its fall. And here, we find not the legend, but the consequences. We find Sif, the great gray wolf, reduced to a trembling pup, trapped within a dome of darkness, and we find a witness. The honorable Artorias set out to face the darkness that engulfed our land. But he was defeated, and his beloved wolf companion was left behind, here in the dark. A tragedy, truly so great. The eyewitness does not speak of an epic battle. It speaks of a defeat. He was defeated, left behind. These are not the words that describe a noble sacrifice. They are the words that describe a failure, an abandonment. We, the faceless undead, are the ones who truly save Sif. We are the ones who wear the ring Artorias should have worn. The temporal paradox is perfect. We fix the hero's mistake before he even commits it in the linear flow of time. And then, we face the shadow, the Abyss Walker, foe. And a fight in Dark Souls is never just a gameplay challenge. It is physical storytelling. Watch Artorias. Do not watch the health bar. Watch him. His movements are not those of a trained swordsman. They are wide, unbalanced, bestial. He spins like an uncontrolled top, using the dead weight of his own body as a weapon. His left arm is not a guard, it is a burden. He keeps it close to his body, an animal reflex to protect a wound. And when he leaps, listen. This is not the sound of combat armor. It is the sound of a useless limb striking the ground. This is not a corrupted warrior fighting the darkness within himself. That is the romantic fantasy. The reality is harsher. This is a man who was already psychologically broken before the corruption. The Abyss did not create a monster. It exploited an existing flaw. The wound in his arm is merely the physical manifestation of a wound in the spirit. And to understand the scale of the failure, we must face what he was supposed to defeat. Manus, the father of the Abyss. Watch the fight. Manus is chaos incarnate, primordial and irrational power. He is strong, but he is defeatable. By us, a random undead, without a title, without an army, without a giant wolf. Poor Artorias. He set out to face the Abyss, promising to save our land. But his task was too great. Far too great. And in the end, only a shadow of his former nobility remains. Elizabeth, a wise and ancient being, does not blame corruption. She blames the task. She sees the disparity between the man and the mission. Artorias was not inadequate. He was misused. Sent on a suicide mission by propaganda, not by strategy. Now the why. Why would Gwyn, the Lord of Light, allow or even orchestrate this lie? Context. Gwyn, at the end of his reign, saw the pillars of his age beginning to crack. The flame was fading. Humanity, bearer of the fragment of the dark soul, was a latent threat. The rebellion of the everlasting dragons was still fresh in memory. A public failure of his most famous champion, on a mission against the very darkness he so feared, would be catastrophic. It would be an admission that the light was flawed. So the story was adjusted. The defeat was erased. The disappearance was stylized as sacrifice. Corruption was transformed into poetic tragedy. Artorias did not die a failure. He vanished a hero. In a world on the brink of collapse, a martyr is more useful than a disgraced corpse. The myth of Artorias became Gwyn's last great piece of propaganda. See, even our greatest champion was consumed fighting for you. The fight is worth it. The system is worth it. Keep the flame alive. In the end, Artorias' legacy is the most human legacy in Dark Souls. It is not about supermen, but about the unfathomable distance between expectation and reality, between the symbol and the man. Sif guards his grave not because his master was a hero, but because he was his master. A wolf's love is truer than any legend. And we, the players, perpetuate the myth. We wield his sword. We honor his name, because in the desperate world of Lordran, a comforting lie is a greater treasure than a devastating truth. Artorias the Abyss Walker may never have walked the abyss. He may have stumbled and fallen at the very first step. But his fall was so spectacular that they built a monument over it and called it victory. And perhaps, in a world that is fading away, that is the purest form of heroism left, to be remembered for any reason. Sometimes we create heroes not because they existed, but because we cannot bear the void that would remain in their place.